Share via email. Report story. Chapter 9. Consciousness tickles at the back of her mind, brought about by the clink of a glass in the ever so quiet fuck of someone in her kitchen. She grumbles, snuggling deeper into her pillow, which in this case is Sue's side as she cracks one eye open. It's pre-dawn, or maybe post, but the pink sunlight that's peeking through the blinds isn't quite enough to encourage her brain to wake up. At the moment, spite is her only fuel, and it's only enough to give a half-hearted glare at the man easing about her kitchen like the floor is covered in eggshells. Close the fridge, she hisses. Sorry, he murmurs, and the yellow light of the fridge vanishes, and she snaps her eyes closed. It takes a moment, only a moment for her sleep-addled brain to pick through the moment in time. Izuku Midoriya is in her kitchen getting a glass of water using her Totoro mug. Izuku Midoriya is in her kitchen getting a glass of water. Izuku Midoriya is in her kitchen. Izuku Midoriya. Oh, you bitch, she snarls, eyes snapping open as her quirk boils to life in her stomach. Gravity gone. She launches herself off the couch. If it bothers Sue or Mina, she misses it in the frantic panic look that Izuku give her, mouth frozen open and emerald eyes going wide. A length of fabric snares around her waist, and with a jerk and a yank, she's off course and spinning through the air into her bedroom. Another flip, and she's staring face to face with her ex-sensei Izawa. He nods at her, placing a finger over his lips before bending down. I'm watching him. He's not getting away. He assures her. And he's not opening that wound back up again. She glowers at him but can't argue for fear of waking up the 5 other pro heroes nestled up in her living room. So instead she wrinkles her nose and sticks her tongue out at the man. It ruins his serious expression, and the telltale quirk of his lip blooms into a smirk as he pulls away. Izuku returns, feet light on the carpet, but he's looking as if the movement is giving everything he's got. And even in the dim light of pre-dawn, she can see the sheen of sweat on his forehead, the heavy way he heaves one foot after the next towards her bed. He glances at her, and his emerald eyes spark to life, a glistening green that has her anger boiling to life once again, and a different heat settling in her chest. Oh, she could kill him. Oh, she could kiss him. He's alive. He's so dead. She grits her teeth instead, nodding to Aizawa. The fabric around her waist uncurls, and she cancels her quirk, letting her weight return as she gets to her feet. The 3 of them exchange a look, but whatever talking there is to be done has to wait until morning, when either it's more appropriate to talk, or all the other heroes have left. It's a price that Uraraka's going to have to pay, since the words that are clawing up the back of her throat demand to be yelled, not whispered, and her fingers simultaneously want to rip out those precious green locks of hair, as well as comb through them. Promoted stories. You'll also like I Am sequel of UR check mark 69.4K 1.8K. This book is the sequel of You are so better read that first before going here. Tears of joy, tears of joy. Thank you to that one reader that suggested this title. I can't see you sad face, but thank you. Mirko X Shy Male Reader 172K 1.1 Key. Don't own MHA. I hope you enjoy the story I made. Not all heroes wear capes. Some just have 8.42.8K 1.4 kilo. Everybody. This is a suicidal, depressed Deku book with Dadmic. Will their bond grow? Will Mike fuck up? Will Izuku try to kill himself? Find out yourself. Number 1 Radio. The hero who sings with a smile 39.3K 368 high. Guys, this is my first story I write on Wattpad. I hope you like it. Zero Deku Onishots 31.5K 798. Because of circumstances, this book won't be continued, unfortunately. Feel free to check out my other stuff. Thank you for understanding. Her prince from the underworld, half demon is. 0.25.9K 450. It's basically the same story as my succubus Momo X Deku story. I know. Real original, but hey, now you guys get a Deku from the other side of the tracks. Convicted Hearts 3700 like my other story, but ILI longer. She's not entirely sure how she feels about the situation. In the morning, Izuku's voice startles her. Mostly because it's croaked, dry and crackly, but he smiles at her like she's an oasis in the desert. So, her heart melts a bit. It's fine. Really. In the morning, she agrees, nodding her head sharply and slipping out the door. She closes it, unsure why she has considering who is occupying it. Not like Aizawa cares for the privacy. He's either been dragged in or has freely invaded every aspect of their hero and personal lives. Her living room is a mess from last night. The blood stain is blaringly present on the carpet by the door, and pizza boxes and empty snack bowls are discarded around the room. Momo and Todoroki have curled up around the coffee table, and Kirishima has curled up on the love seat like some sort of dog. She's not completely sure that's an inaccurate description. Sue and Mina have shifted, filling in the space she'd occupied on the couch, but leaving the end open. And while cuddling with the alien queen isn't on her all-time highs, because it almost always ends up with her face breaking out a week later, it's better than sharing the floor with the lovebirds or the too small love seat with Kirishima. She slips into the gap, tugging the blanket back as she curls up. Sleep returns swiftly, and in exchange, so does true mourning. It comes with quiet hisses of pain and some mild whimpering, and the sizzle of pancake batter in a pan. It's a pleasing smell, homey and warm and just. Who's cooking? Coffee. And the word is coarse and scratchily said, but boy does it filter through her mind like the words of an angel. She blinks, barely awake as she accepts the steaming hot cup of life-giving liquid. One sip turns into two, and when caffeine finally hits her system and she cracks open her eyes, she's greeted with emerald eyes and a smile that should be illegal, it's so bright. Good morning, sunshine. Izuku murmurs, voice still hoarse, bag still under his eyes, but damn. She didn't know she needed him getting her coffee in the morning for her life to be complete. Um, Morning, Izuku. She hums back, taking another sip of coffee. He leaves, slips away somewhere between her eyes, closing to savor the warmth of the mug and actually processing her morning. There are 7 pro heroes in her apartment. And one villain. Her eyes snap back open, going wide as he mouth drops open. Is. She snaps her head to the side, words falling away to nothing as she stares at Izawa manning her stove, a spatula in one hand and a bowl of pancake batter in the other. Izuku has frozen one hand holding an iced coffee. He blinks a few times at her, slowly cocking an eyebrow. She watches in shock as he eases across the room. Each step is tentative, careful even, and his right leg shakes when he picks it up. His left hand is tucked in the pocket of her extra-large sweatpants, and the reason why is the hefty bandage that's covering most of that shoulder. He lowers the coffee to the table, setting it down in the middle. Todoroki. He murmurs softly, and the half-and-half hero grumbles, blinking away. If it bothers him that he's woken up to a face mouth full of Yaomomo's hair, he doesn't show it. Instead he just hums, sitting up slightly as one hand wraps around Momo's waist, keeping her pressed tightly to his chest as he reaches for the coffee. Milk? He blearily asks, and Izuku nods. Iced. Milk instead of cream. He replies, easing away to pour another cup, presumably for another of the heroes. It's an arduous process, but one she watches with interest as Izuku navigates the little space between her coffee maker, the mug cabinet, and back to the respective heroes around the room. It's so relaxed, almost even normal as he eases them awake with a gentle word, pressing the warm cup of coffee into their hands. He holds it, waits for fingers to fumble with the handle, tentatively outstretched to catch and pull it away if the recipient drops it. And then he drifts away to let them enjoy it and return to the world of the living on their own time. She could wake up to this every morning. He could get her coffee.
That was funny.
He
Bluegrass.
could mingle with her friends, laugh at their jokes. The sil- He could mingle with her friends, laugh at their jokes. The silence is ruined by Kirishima's phone going off, and the barely awake hero answering it with a groan. WH. He jerks the phone away from his head, and even from the couch, she can hear Bakugo screaming into the receiver. Dude, dude, Bakubro. Hiroshima grumbles. I just woke up, gimme a minute, alright. There's a pause and the man grimaces. No man, it's movie night. You forget. We're at Uraraka's. Is that Kachan? Izuku asks from across the room. Hiroshima replies, tilting the phone towards him. Izuku shakes his head, pursing his lips with an unamused look. Look, I'll get there as soon as I can. Yeah, yeah. Ream me out later. Last night was hell. I'll tell you about it later. And he ends the call with a huff, dropping the phone onto the floor and draining his mug. It's still creepy, you know, my coffee order. Hiroshima says, setting the empty mug down on the coffee table, looking across the room to Rabbit. Izuku has eased himself into one of her bar stools, good hand pressed to his side, and his left carefully relaxed in her sweatpants pocket. He smiles, cocking an eyebrow at Kirishima. 4 pages, 3 sketches, 1 autograph, and it's your coffee order that throws you for a loop. He snorts, shaking his head. How are you coming with the tip I gave you? And it's a shock, how Kirishima shrugs, easing himself to his feet and across the room. It's startling how comfortable the room is as Red Riot leans against the counter to discuss his quirk with Rabbit. How they snip back and forth at each other as Aizawa cooks pancakes in her kitchen. She takes another sip of coffee and finds her own mug empty. She sets it down, wriggling out of the tangle of limbs she, Mina, and Sue had gotten into last night to refill it. Oh, Uraraka. Izuku goes to stand, then falters, one leg buckling as his good arm slaps the counter to compensate. Hiroshima catches him, offering a, whoa whoa there bunny boy. As he sets him back in the stool, Izuku grimaces, biting his lip and tilting his head back. A sharp inhale, a slow exhale as he squeezes his eyes closed. Someone get Todoroki up. I think I just cracked this one open. He says breathlessly, already there. Todoroki groans, but he holds up a finger. I'm not moving for a villain. Izuku's face twists into something between a smirk and a scowl, but he levers himself off the stool, legs holding firm this time as he staggers one step forward. Then another. Izu. She starts. It's fine. He snarls. I earned it. And he drops onto her coffee table with a huff and a thump. Todoroki just hums, freeing his right arm from Momo's side and using his left for peel back the bandage. Last night it had been a puckering hole bleeding out all over the place. This morning, it was a neat and tidy, circular in shape and perhaps the size of her thumb. Blood still oozed out of it, and with a glance at Midoriya's expression, Todoroki put his thumb over it, covering the hole. It's going to hurt, he warned. I'm used to it, Izuku replies. There's a flash, and then a sizzling of heat. Izuku's teeth gnash together, his head snapping back as he exhales, hard and fast. He's hyperventilating, but his eyes are focused on her ceiling. A crackle happens, and then Todoroki pulls his hand away, the hole pink and blistered, but no longer bleeding. He slides his left hand over it, and a dusting of ice appears on it. You didn't pass out. He murmurs it like it's a surprise, but she knows Shoto well enough to know it's a compliment. Izuku whimpers and nods, breathing a bit slower now as he presses his hand to the cauterized wound. You're getting better with the fire. Todoroki hums, non-committal. So, I listened to your tip. It's. He shrugs. Not unfounded advice. Izuku smiles, though the expression looks forced. I help the heroes that I like. Pancakes for the ones that aren't bitching at each other or ruining more of Uraraka's carpet. Aizawa calls from the kitchen, and those seem to be the magic words. Her friends abandon the coffee table, leaving her and Izuku staring at each other as they clamber over pancakes. I'm gonna have to leave in a bit, Hiroshima says around a mouthful. Otherwise Bakugo's going to be kicking in the door looking for me. We have morning patrol too. Momo adds, looking only half awake despite her paging through her phone's calendar. Shoto hums again, nursing his iced coffee like it's his reason to live. And honestly, she can't really blame him. Pinky. Froppy. Izuku asks, cocking an eyebrow at him. You sticking around? No ribbit. Sue replies, idly picking at one of her pancakes. But I'm all for the interesting gossip you and Ochako have. She winks at him. Let me know if it gets steamy. Ooh, things are already at that stage. Mina turns, a devious smile on her lips. Oh honey, you should have told me. She groans, while Izuku sputters, and the red that's infecting his neck and cheeks is so much better than the red spilling out of him last night. He shakes his head, waving his hands frantically. No, no. I mean, I'd never not that I wouldn't. Like, but I'm not going, we aren't. He stutters. Your hands go near her pants, Aizawa interrupts, walking around the kitchen counter, two plates held in either hand. Then I'm cutting them off like you did Shigaraki's. He thrusts the plates into their respective hands. Hill confirmed. Hiroshima shouts. With a clatter of a plate, a snappy finger guns motion at Izuku. The rock-hard hero is out the door. If that bothers any of the other occupants, they don't show it, and instead seem to be absorbed in their breakfast. Izuku joins them, carefully meandering his way to lean on the counter across from them as opposed to in the middle of them. And it's unfair. Blatantly, obviously, painfully unfair how much he looks like he belongs there. Her heart stutters in her chest, squeezing in on itself to the point she thinks she's going to pass out of forget how to breathe altogether. And then he just looks up at her and smiles, giving her a wink as he slides an empty plate to the side. gesturing for her to join them. And it fits. It works. Breakfast banter is as normal. Todoroki and Izuku trade snippets of ideas about quirk fighting, Izuku mentioning something about temperature regulating and bending opposite sides. She didn't catch all of it, she's too preoccupied trying to not meet Suyu's gaze and keep up a steady flow of conversation between Mina and Yaomomo. And when they trickle out, it's like they're all friends. Todoroki and Izuku shake hands, and Izuku assures him that he'll be in touch with some information on the smuggling operations. Sue is still giving her that look, that smug, half knowing, half suspecting, the we're gonna leave and it's going to go from T to M rated really fast look, and honestly, she just uh can't handle this right now. Free to come in now. Son of a bitch. She cranes her neck to the side, staring at the head in her just recently closed door. Blonde. Symbolic. Now plastered on most billboards with the title, Symbol of Hope. Lemillion. Did you bring Eri? Izuku doesn't look fazed in the slightest as he eases around the counter, one careful step after the other. Naturally. And a hand joins the head, unlocking the apartment door and letting the hero and his adopted daughter in, Uncle Rabbit. Eri squeals, darting across the room and throwing herself into Izuku's arms. She's glad there's a couch there, and not the floor, because Izuku topples over like a stack of cards, and while he whimpers in pain, the expression doesn't show on his face as he squeezes Eri tight. Oh my girl, you got so big since I last saw you. His voice is nearly hoarse, strained, but his smile is radiant as she rushes over. A touch of her hand, and whatever painful weight Eri is putting on Izuku is nullified, but that point is shortly muted as Mirio steps in, pulling her off Izuku and into his arms. Easy now, Eri. Mirio cautions, setting her on the ground safe and sound. Uncle Rabbit is a bit banged up, we don't want to hurt him, do we? Eri grimaces, and the expression looks genuine. But it turns into a grin as she sees who's in the kitchen. Papa, she exclaims, and she's gone again, across the room and throwing herself into Aizawa's waiting arms. It's heartwarming and tooth-rottingly sweet, and especially to see just how much she's grown. She was 6, maybe 7 her first year, and while she'd seen her fleetingly since then, she hadn't seen her since Ua. And now, the girl was almost a teenager by the look, touching on puberty but every bit as sweet and loving as she was as a child. As can be seen in Aizawa happily making another round of pancakes, still holding Eri in one arm as he does so. And if it bothered the underground hero to have a 13-year-old in one hand and a frying pan in the other, it didn't show in the least. What are you here for, Lemillion? Izuku asks, and she has to turn back to the conversation because the tone change is obvious. Lemillion hums and shrugs. I think we both know. Two things. You're not getting the first, and you already know my answer on the second. And if someone uses gravity to get to you, Lemillion furthers, crossing his arms over his broad chest. You don't think that's a possibility? Izuku juts his chin out. I might have lost a Magio, but my network is far from dismantled. If there's even half a thought in anyone's mind about touching her, then I'll know, and they'll be shut down, disowned, and dismantled before they can even think to do more than look up her name. She swallows, stepping between the two. Hey, I'm here too, you know. I can take care of myself. Never said you couldn't, sunshine. Izuku hums back, but Mirio here is worrying. Someone will you use to get one for all from me? There's a hefty pause at that. Like Mirio is stunned he'd say it out loud, and a look of confusion on her part as she turns to him. One for all. Izuku grins. All Might's quirk, and the one he gave to Mirio your first year at UA. He chuckles then, gaze turning to Mirio. Oh, but you lost that against Overhaul, didn't you? A trickle of blood, a snippet of hair. It's not that hard to actually steal now that you think about it. There's a reason Eri couldn't restore it, by the way, though I'm sure you tried more than once. One for all is passed on, can't be given back. Mirio purses his lips. Give it back to me, Rabbit. I know you have it somewhere. And for just a moment, Uraraka can understand why Rabbit is a villain and not a vigilante. Why the name is associated with information and all-knowing powers and dark plans. She can see it in those emerald eyes that still light up like stars when he looks at her, and how at the moment they look bottomless and gazed over. She can see it in how his teeth flash in his smile, predatory and devious as he leans back into her couch. It's safe where it is, Mirio. Not being used, not being flaunted, and locked away in a place where it can disappear. Mirio growls, taking a step forward, but she intercepts, keeping the two from strangling each other. It's supposed to be a legacy. He grits out, passed on from one hero to the next, a symbol of hope and strength for the next generation. And you let it slip through your fingers. Izuku hisses back. After everything I gave you about Shisaki, every bit of information I dug up, every secret and concoction he'd brewed, all the research, and you didn't see it coming. You're lucky you got permeation back with Eri. You think I'd trust a dumbass like you to keep a superpower like One for All after that mess? He huffs and rolls his eyes. All for One is out of the picture anyways. The world doesn't need a quirk like One for All floating around. And if it does, if there's another superpower or disaster that happens, and we need that strength. Izuku glances at her, staring at her like she's the deciding factor for all his decisions. He huffs. Then I guess you know who to ask for it. She knows Lemillion isn't going to attack him. She knows it because he's a hero, and that's not what he stands for. She knows it because Izuku is injured, and even just sitting there on her couch, she can tell he's overexerting himself. The slight sheen of sweat on his limbs and torso, the heated look on his face. The faint reddening of the bandage at his shoulder. Still, it surprises her when Mirio pulls back with a huff. He stalks around the coffee table, expression grim before looking back at Izuku. You're keeping one for all? He finally asks, as if it's the most preposterous thing that's ever occurred to him. Of course, Izuku grimaces, cracking his neck before letting out a long slow sigh. Why is that so hard to believe? Because you're so adamant you're. A pause, a lapse in wording, because they all know what goes next. Quirkless. Izuku snorts. Ah yes, the assumption that a quirkless boy like me couldn't handle the safekeeping of a stupid overpowered quirk like one for all is beyond you. He spits. I should just trust it to the boy genius that was stupid enough to lose it in his own quirk in the first place. Right. That's not. Damn right it's what you meant. Izuku snarls, sitting up in the chair. He hesitates, then sighs. Get out. And it's like all the wind, the rage, all the fire and the storm that's been whipped up inside of him has vanished, extinguished in a word. Rabbit, please. I'm trying to keep you safe. He snorts. You're 7 years too late to be my hero, Lemillion. He shakes his head. And quite a bit more if you really want to start digging that hole. Lemillion huffs, shuffling his feet before looking around the kitchen, then to Uraraka. Yule. He hesitates. Never mind. No, no. Ask her. Izuku pushes. Ask her if she'd take it from me. Ask her if she'd take back your precious little quirk and bear that burden. 'Cause I'm sure that's all you care about, Mirio. All Might's precious quirk. Lemillion grimaces. That's not. He shakes his head. Never mind. And he stalks off into the kitchen with another shake of his head. There's a short exchange there. And with a kiss of Aries' head, he's out the door without another word. It's like the air has turned to concrete, and whatever peace had been in the room is thick with tension and discomfort. Izuku handles it the best, but his body handles it the worse. As soon as he sits up, his leg spasms, and he has to put his good hand on it to stop. Back to bed with you, little villain. Aizawa instructs, though his tone has little bite to it. Ochako, if you will. He looks preoccupied with Eri by his side, peacefully enjoying her breakfast. She nods, and with a tap, she's got Izuku weightlessly on her shoulder, pulling him gently off the couch and into her room. She leaves him floating in the air for a moment while she readjusts the bedding, moving the pillows and plushies around, and recognizing that it's very likely these sheets will be forfeit. After the assortment of blood stains on them, she lowers him back down into the bed. Comfortable? She asks. He nods, bringing his hand up to comb through his hair. She releases her quirk and her bed creates as his weight comes back suddenly. I could be more comfortable if you were here with me. He smiles lazily at her. She gives him a look, and instead leans back against the wall, crossing her arms over her chest. So scandalous. What would the media say? Romance of the ages, a hero and a villain. Is he dragging her into the dark, or will she redeem him in the light? He quips, but it's so readily on his tongue, she wonders if he's thought about it before. You've thought about it before. She guesses. The media is always accounted for. And she can't tell if his tone is exasperated or just amused. So she lets it go, lets the conversation slip away into the silence of him resting and her watching. She watches the rise and fall of his chest, the stretch and pull of the bandages across muscles and scarred skin. He's decorated in them, little nicks and cuts on his arms, a few that crisscross on his fingers. It's funny, she'd always seen him in gloves when they were out somewhere, hadn't even noticed he'd lost them until this morning, when the bare kiss of his fingers around her coffee cup met her own groggy ones. What's one for all? She asks. A quirk that's been passed on from one hero to the next. It stockpiles the quirks of the previous user, gives them to the next to use. It's supposed to be a weapon to fight all for one. Izuku explains, eyes closed as he relaxes. All Might passed it on to Lemillion. She asks, and then Lemillion lost it fighting Overhaul. Izuku explains. So why is he asking you for it back? Izuku cracks an eye open, a smirk pulling at the corner of his lips. Why do you think Sunshine? Chapter 10. If there's anything that could make Rabbit nervous, apparently it was sitting across from her in a coffee shop answering his emails. You know we're allowing you to work quite freely, right, Ribbit? She asks, examining her cup of tea. I know. Rabbit hesitates, then shrugs. I guess it's just weird. His fingers clack on the keys, and she hears the tone as he sends one, two, three emails out one after the other. It was one thing when it was Uraraka. I guess it's another when it's you. She cocks an eyebrow at him, straightening up in the chair and leaning over the table to look at him. And why is that? His cheeks color, edging towards red but settling on pink for the moment. Well, I dunno. I guess I just expected me to quiz you on your intentions for Ochako-chan Ribbit. She asks. He shrugs, awkward as he takes his coffee and drains it. It's almost hilarious, but she smothers the karo laugh that wants to bubble up in her throat. Well, I was going to let you work Ribbit. But if you're putting the topic out there, she smiles, folding her hands together. Why do you seem attracted to my partner Ribbit? He blushes for real this time, looking away and down into his bag. I mean, He hesitates, as he seems to do when there's an important topic on hand. She's special, remarkably so and genuine. He shakes his head. There's a lot of heroes that do it for the money, or for the fame, the attention, gear, whatever. And I think it says something that she says she does it for the money, but only such to support her parents. He shrugs. I've dug into your finances. You don't live beyond your means. She lives in an apartment. You do too. Nothing fancy. Nothing extreme. You manage your agency fairly. Give you sidekicks a good salary and bonuses on the holidays. It's the right thing to do, Ribbit. Suyu responds. Her tea is getting lukewarm, but that's the temperature she prefers it. Anything too hot is just.
I got a few silly tattoos over the years where I literally just got on Google and said motorcycle tattoo. I got this one.
Ah, but that doesn't mean everyone else is doing it. He responds. Think about Endeavor's salary. Sure, the man deserves it, but he has so much extra cash in his account that he doesn't even use or touch. Or better, do you remember Moonbeam? Moonbeam. Ah, yes. She hums back, vaguely. Big scandal came out about him working hostage situations both ways, right? He'd hire the thugs, work out the deal, pay the guys a fraction of the ransom, and make off with the rest, right? Close enough. Rabbit replied. Other heroes do that kind of thing with their sidekicks too. Unequal pay distribution. It depends on the accountant and how honest they are. Or just not spending money wisely. Red Riot did that a while back. You mean the brick drive? Suyu furthers, a smirk sliding across her face. We told him it was dumb. Rabbit shrugs and smiles, emerald eyes flashing. I mean, yeah, but it was pretty fun. Giant waste of his budget, setting up a fundraiser for people to throw bricks at him, but it is what it is. It broke even. Apparently, brick throwing at an unbreakable hero was entertaining. I meant the gear upgrades he did a while ago for his costume. He trailed it for 2 weeks and tore through 8 of those costumes. He had the brains to switch back to something more rugged, but even if the lab told him they'd foot the bill, it was still a rather extreme expense, Ribbit. She hummed. Hadn't thought about those expenses. How bad are we? He shrugs, tapping away at his laptop for a moment before answering. Better than most. You and Uraraka tend to bare bones things as opposed to over the top them. He flips the laptop around to display a set of bar graphs. This is a bit old, about a year since I updated it, but it should give you a general idea about costs compared to your classmates. I tend to track 1A as a baseline. Why? She asks, pulling it closer to better examine. Sample size and consistency. If I gather data on every hero, there's different school, different teachings, different eras to consider of harrowing practices. But if I just track you and your classmates, the data is cleaner, gives me a better data. She hums, acknowledging that. He had a point. The older heroes tended to lean towards an all might style of working. Over the top and flashy, but usually successful. There was a weird flux in the next 10 years depending on quirk, such as Sir Night Eye, Midnight, Eraserhead versus Mount Lady, or even Lemillion. So, you took all those variables away, and this lets you look through. She trails off, scrolling all the way to the right to find the largest bar. Oh, right. Last year Ground Zero's collateral damage was insane. Ribbit. Rabbit snorts, rolling his eyes. Dumbass. He whispers, then shakes his head. But he leans over, getting out of his chair to page the screen back to the left. Let's. He taps one graph, and it expands, breaking up into a half dozen other bars. Kriti is a good example of overhead. Momo is like the least destructive individual, next to maybe Ojiro, Ribbit. But look at her overhead. Izuku waves his finger under the cost, and it's the largest bar out of the categories. Her collateral is next to nothing. Her complaints are non-existent. No lawsuits, no insurance payouts, but her overhead is through the roof because of her quirk. Food intake and costume changes. He explains. She's changed costumes 4 different times, winter and summer in the past 3 years, before finally picking the one she's in now. I thought she produced them herself. Sue purses her lips, considering that. She does. Prototypes. He hesitates, then admits, I might have stolen 2 or 3. And one of her encyclopedias. They're really handy for experimentation. Which is another cost. She's gotten them reprinted and expanded so many times, she made a deal with the company to get them at a discount. And us. He shrugs. Your and Uraraka have maintained the same costume, give or take seasonal changes and repair work, since graduation. Support items have changed, but that's not uncommon with the territory and getting into more work. You find the kinks and smooth them out. He tabs out of Kriti's graph, and swipes over to Uravity's. Her main cost is related to support items. Rope, handcuff replacements, and visor replacements for her helmet. Sue hums in agreement. It seems that every couple of weeks she'd come in with a grimace on her face and a crack in the visor. And they'd grumble and complain about it, and then send it off to get fixed. Mine. Goggles, gloves, handcuffs. He responds without changing the graph. You need to get a better pouch to hold them. You lose them in the water nearly as much as you get them on someone. She can't argue with that either. Who's the worst? He smiles and shrugs. Depends on what you classify as overhead costs and what you classify as personal. She cocks an eyebrow at him, knowing he has an opinion. Iida. He overheats and melts gaskets like there's no tomorrow in the summer months. In the winter he basically has to pipe in antifreeze each morning to get his engines warmed up. Engines for legs isn't that cost efficient of a quirk, as it turns out. She snorts, shaking her head. All right, I guess you pass on that question, Ribbit. She hums, sipping her tea as he puts away his laptop. It's interesting watching him move. It's calculated, efficient despite him apparently not having training. He pulls out a sketchbook and a pencil, a fat eraser that looks more like a sad gray blob than a rubber eraser. Do you mind if I draw? He asks, fidgeting with the pencil. You already have my autograph, Ribbit. And Uraraka's. But it's rare I get to draw you heroes up close. He defends, cheeks burning red. Ah, she guesses that she can admit he's cute. But her heart is set on another. As long as I can keep asking you questions. She replies, leaning back as he starts. She waits, watches as his hands tilt the pages this way and that. He's back wearing the gloves, thin black leather that conceal the scarred fingers and pink scars twisting around the long digits. And when he settles back in the chair, she keeps her position, watching his eyes flick from the page up to her. What's your plan? She asks. 4. He flips the pad upside down, and she's not really sure why. Drawing was never her forte. DiMaggio. I've forwarded Mirio quite a lot of information, and I'm follow up in my own way. Uraraka. What are your intentions there? He pauses, pencil shaking back and forth before he removes it completely from the page, turning it in his fingers uncertainly. Courting for right now. He decides. Your lifestyle and hers don't exactly mesh, Ribbit. He hesitates again. Then the pencil returns to the page. I'm tying up loose ends. Maybe I'll change businesses. Something more mundane. Or less over the line in the least. Would you, Ribbit? It's worth it for her. He replies, tone conveying uncertainty despite his relaxed position. I'm not going to sully her name, or yours for that matter, by keeping involved with dark elements just to date her. I know I have to choose one or the other. Do you? She presses. You're not acting like you plan on changing. He shrugs, but before he can reply, her radio goes off. Explosion on 4th Street. We've got civilians in the building. I'm going in to search. Anyone in the area, I'll need backup. Uraraka. The sketchbook slaps closed, and Rabbit is already shoving his things into his bag. He stops for one precious moment to look at her, and then he's moving again, zipping it up and fumbling to pull his gloves back tight. We're not going, she says, ignoring the tick of worry that worms its way into the back of her head. There are other heroes in the area. I'm supposed to be watching you. He pauses, just for a moment as he slings the bag over his shoulder. Then watch me help Uravati. Like it's the most logical solution to their issue. And damn it, he's already out the door. Rabbit ribbit. She launches herself out of the chair and the door after him, half hopping, half sprinting to keep up. Wait. Can't. Burning building. He responses because damn him, he's right. Two are out. There's someone else on the third floor. Uraraka crackles in through the radio again. She unclips it, brings it up and responds. Froppy and Rabbit are on our way. Is there anyone else in the area? Rabbit, a third voice in Genium responds. We're bringing a villain to a rescue scene. No, stop. Can't, she responds as he rounds the corner in front of them. He just started for it. I'm following after him. There's a crackling of fire on the other side of the radio, a muffled thump and then general static. Sue rolls her eyes. Uraraka must have left her headset on again. Or lost it, she huffed under her breath. There goes another one. The building is in view. She can physically see it. Smoke billowing out from the seams, the brick and mortar scorched with soot. It's unnaturally out of control. And that makes her suspicious. But if it bothers Rabbit, he doesn't show it as he bursts through the crowd. Clear out, she yells, bounding over it in a single hop. Heroes coming in. Where's Uraraka? It's a thought that settles in the back of her mind as she keeps the citizens back, but one that blooms anew as the building shakes, shuddering on its very foundation before it explodes. She whips around, fear clutching at her heart as a burning bundle tumbles out of the second-story window. It lands in a heap on the ground, tumbling another foot as bricks and mortar ping through the air. She rushes forward, hoping. Green hair makes it impossible, and the size isn't right for both of them, but she rolls him over anyway, exposes what's beneath Rabbit's curled body. A child, weakly breathing, soot-stained and wearing a pink helmet. A note taped to the side, part of it burnt, but she recognizes the name. DiMaggio sends his reader, in neat print across the bottom, the corner burnt. Rabbit peels it off, forcing himself to his feet as he wheezes out one breath after the other as he bends down. Darkness crackles around his hands as he peels off the note. There's lightning in his eyes and it's so much scarier than any other expression she could compare it to how his teeth grit and flex. His body hunches over, muscles straining against his shirt as he curls in on himself. And howls. It takes everything in her not to run. Every shred of training from 4 years, every ounce of self-control. every fiber of muscle flexed to resist the flee command that's trickled through her mind and invaded every part of her. Rabbit throws himself into the rubble, the roar slipping from his lungs never ceasing as he grabs rubble and rock, flinging it away one way or the other he doesn't seem to care. And when the sound dies, it's only so the intensity of his movements can double. She's stuck frozen until a hand claps her shoulder, and it's Ingenium, rushing up to help the villain heave rubble out of the way. And she's managing the crowd, pushing them back and giving Ingenium and Rabbit room. Is that the infamous Rabbit? What's he doing here? Why is he helping the heroes? Didn't he save that girl? Where's Uravity? A dozen questions are floating through the air, but it's in one ear and out the other as she sets up a perimeter and more heroes appear on scene. It doesn't take long, but it took long enough. The rubble is cleared, no body is found, and Rabbit, she stares at him, at the way his nails are biting so sharply into his palm as he grits his teeth, kneeling in front of the cleared rubble. He's scraped up and bloody and he looks a right mess. But when he stands up, it's like he's the monster from before. I'll be back. He snarls the words as he brushes past her, ducks under the perimeter tape and disappears into the crowd. She nods, mutely, dumbly as he vanishes. Froppy. Ingenium. Are you okay? Did that villain hurt you? She shakes her head, clears her throat and shakes it again. N no ri ribbit. She hiccups on the croak, chokes it out wide eyed and terrified. I, she blinks again. I think I'm just scar ribbit. Scared. Dark emerald eyes. Crackles of lightning in his eyes. Blood dripping off of torn black leather gloves. DiMaggio had made a mistake in taking Uravity. That's for sure. He might have been looking to pull a rabbit out of his hat. But he was about to get a literal nightmare. Where stories live. Discover now.